Hello, my name is Alan Bond, and I'm Associate Professor at California State University, Chico. A little about me: I have a Bachelor of Science in Construction Management, 1987, and an MBA in 2013, both from Chico State. After graduation, I went into the industry where I was primarily a general building contractor for public works projects. And in those 24 years or so, did about $1 billion worth of volume. Just finished my 9th year at Chico State as an instructor. And I'm going to talk to you today about an alternative delivery method for service learning projects in construction management. And specifically what makes this difference is the use of an informal classroom versus a formal classroom to deliver that service learning project. So before we get too far into it, we need to clarify a couple key definitions. The first is that community service or community volunteerism, it is work on a real project. It's performed by joint efforts of like-minded individuals for the collective good of society, yet lacks real organization. Now, when we add to a project as this active learning, the application of theoretical educational concepts, and provide for real student reflections on the project for a real world project, we now have service learning. So as educators, why is it that we care about service learning? Well, we understand that it installs active and enhanced learning, whether that's student-centric or collaborative-based, above what we can actually accomplish in the classroom and in the lab. And that experience is incalculable. The other thing it does is it promotes the development of soft skills, those soft skills that industry is after us to teach them or expose them to: teamwork, communication, critical thinking, problem solving, among others. So while most educators agree to the value of service learning, however, service learning traditionally has been delivered by a mandatory or capstone class or an elective course that's been set up for a semester or two based on a specific project, all of which requires funding. So why a classroom environment? Well, to verify, through controlled application of the class theory, the applied learning component, and to make sure time is set aside for student reflection. However, there are barriers to this implementation: the existing curriculum structure for a program, the faculty's experience, the faculty time that'll be needed, what's the community support, and the financial resources. All of these barriers, if you will, have been well documented in existing publications on service learning. But the result is that institutions with these barriers struggle to provide service learning opportunities for their students, if at all. So the basis for this case study is really a potential solution to that. And what it's all about is providing service learning opportunities using an informal classroom, in this case, a student club. It was 100% student-led, student-managed, purely volunteer, no graduation requirement, no course credit, no minimum GPA or class standing. This particular project took place during the entirety of academic year 2018 and 2019. So one of the things that you have to understand in selecting a service learning project is it's complicated. The instructor has to balance between the project size, the student skill set, the faculty time commitment, the student motivations, and allow time for that applied learning and reflection. Now, our project was what they call the Swings Project in a local historic city park, actually the third largest park in the nation. And the students performed estimating and scheduling, value engineering. They went out and got donations. And when it came time to do the work, the site logistics, the material coordination, and again, it was a active park, so everything, all the deliveries had to be coordinated. The students did 85% of the work, some 2,700 hours. And the work that they did had to do with grading and draining, forming, pouring, integral color radius concrete, very difficult, way beyond student skill set, assembly and erection of 7 pieces of new play equipment, and all the fall protection work. So how did I go about collecting the data? What was my methodology? So I used an anonymous post-project electronic survey tool, 38 questions, that had quantitative data yes/no type questions, 5-point Likert scale, and qualitative, open-ended questions to really capture the student's true experience. And the questions were divided into 5 main categories: demographics, the student's participation objective, why they wanted to participate in the beginning, the perceived benefits. Now, on the perceived benefits, I used baseline questions predicated on prior published results of the formal classroom delivery method for analysis of a viability or similarity for the informal delivery method. The next area was task performed, pre-con and construction. And then lastly, what was their overall participation experience, the reflection component. So we had a total of 50 different students work on the project, but half of them only worked a day. And so we disqualified them from the pool. So we had 26 qualified survey, and we got 21 for an 80% rate. So what were the results? I think the most important result on the demographics is that 40% of the students were underclassmen. In a sense, they got some early exposure to industry to help motivate them, make them excited about going into industry. So that was absolutely a fantastic outcome. On the student pre-participation objectives, no surprise, development of the soft skills was the #1 response. What was a surprise to me is the #2 response and how much students really wanted to learn hands-on trade skills. The next one, student perceived benefits. No surprise, top 3 after the fact: teamwork, verbal communication, applied learning, which absolutely mirrored the formal classroom results that I mentioned prior in previous publications. The surprise was that leadership skills was one of the lowest. And in retrospect, what I realized is it was a very small leadership team out of all the students. So it did in fact make sense. What industry tasks did they perform in terms of pre-construction? So this was asked of all students that were allowed to do multiple responses. And the top 3, site logistics, coordination of the work, job site safety. The bottom 3, lean, cost control, and contract management, again, makes sense due to the small leadership team. The last category was project challenges and student benefits. Now, the top responses on challenges, again, mirrored formal classroom results, which were sustaining student motivation, manpower, students' accountability towards one another, communication. The project's too big, too long, which in this case it absolutely was, and individual time management that might in fact speak to maturity level. On the reported student benefits, and when we looked at their objectives before and the actual, we found that teamwork came in at expectation, that their contribution to community came up big, and that pre-con tasks and hand-on trade experience came in slightly lower on their benefit. So as we look to wrap this up, we really have to stop and talk about the limitations of the case study. It was limited to 21 respondents of 50 participants in a program of over 500 students based upon only 1 school. So we're really talking about 0.5%. So we just need to recognize that before drawing larger conclusions. Was the project a success? Absolutely. From the holistic perspective, the students created a work of improvement for the city that'll last for decades. They enjoyed their experience. 3 students were recognized for their commitment to community, and the project won an Agency of California Constructor Award. From the research perspective, upon reflection, students' perceived development of soft skills and active learning of the course theories were met. The students and the club advisor experienced project challenges similar to those published in other service learning case studies. The results of this case study are very similar with prior published results that utilize the formal classroom delivery method. Thus, the similarity of the results validate the use of this informal delivery method, providing a potential alternative to those institutions with barriers to implementation of service learning opportunities for their students. And I would just like to leave you with a before and after photo of the project. There are some key numbers about the project, including the final cost. And I just want to say I appreciate you viewing this video. My contact information is listed if you would like to discuss it.